for one thing, we have to use is if we are using the verb to be. For example, that is a house. We use for one thing to say something. We have to use is if we are using the verb to be. For example, that is a house. We use for one thing. We have to use is if we are using the verb to be. For example, that is a house. Are houses. We use for one thing. We have to use is to be. For example, those houses. Again, as those is for more than one thing, we have to use are if we are using the verb to be. For example, those are houses. How to identify a subject. A subject is the person or thing that makes an action, verb. In English, we have I, you, he. For one thing, we have to use is if we're using the verb to be, you, they. This is the most common way to talk about a person or people. But sometimes we can say, for example, my mother, my father, John, or Tim and Susan. We have to know if, for example, my mother is the same as saying you, he, she, or it. Let's see the most common ones. For example, my mother is the same as she because my mother is a woman. Then, if we have to create a sentence with my mother as the subject, we say, my mother is a doctor. As you can see, we use is for the verb to be because the verb to be with the person she goes with is. Let's see another example. If we say my father, as my father is the same as he because my father is a man, then we use is. For example, my father is a teacher. As you can see, we use is for the verb to be. The verb to be with the person he is. Let's see another example. If we say Tim and Susan, then as Tim and Susan is the same as a, because Tim and Susan are two people, then we use are for the verb to be. For example, Tim and Susan are friends. As you can see, we use are for the verb to be because the verb to be with the person they goes with are. Check the table in this lesson to learn some other important subjects to identify if they behave like a he, she, it, we, you, or they. A, un, the, or nothing. Hello. In this video, we're going to show you how to introduce a person or thing in a conversation with the words a, the, or nothing, and when to use them. We use the words a, un, the, or nothing to introduce things or people. Depending on which word we use, we are saying if the thing or person is known or unknown, and if it is only one or more. For example, when we say a man, we indicate that it is only one man and that we don't know who this man is. We use a only for singular, one thing or person. But when we say the man, then we know this man. We can use the for singular and plural, as in The two men. A and un are the same, but we use un when the following word starts with a vowel or muted H. For example, an apple or an hour. We use nothing when we talk about things in general. For example, cars have four wheels. We are saying that all cars have four wheels. We don't say the cars have four wheels. Sentence structure, the SVO formula. Hello, in this video, we're going to explain to you how the sentences are created in English, their order and elements. This lesson is very important. Please pay attention. In English, all sentences have the same structure. Subject plus verb plus object. For example, I read a book, where I is the subject, read is the verb, and a book is the object. If we want to say when the action happens or where it happens, we can put it at the beginning or at the end of the sentence. For example, yesterday at home, I read a book. Or, I read a book yesterday at home. We have the same structure, but we put the time and place at the beginning or at the end of the sentence. If we want to say how the action occurs, we put it at the end of the sentence. For example, he speaks English very well. Something more to know. A subject and an object can have this structure: an article plus adjective plus noun. The first thing is a word that we call article, that can be the words in the previous lessons. For example, a, the, this, that. It tells us if it is something near, one thing, a lot of things, etc. The second thing is the adjective. We put adjectives in brackets because sometimes we don't use an adjective. An adjective is a word that describes a person or a thing. For example, big. The last thing, but the most important, is the noun. It can be a person or a thing. Let's put this all together. In the morning, I paint this old house. I is the subject, paint is the verb, and the object has three parts. This is the article, old is the adjective, and house is the noun. Another example. The brown dog eats a big cookie. In this sentence, the brown dog is the subject. The is the article. Brown is the adjective, and dog is the noun. Eats is the verb. A cookie is the object. A is the article. Big is the adjective, and cookie is the noun. Be careful, there are some exceptions. Don't use this formula in passive, because the order is different. In imperative, because there is no subject, and when you use the verb there is or there are, because there is no subject. Please watch this lesson again if you don't understand. Possessive S. In this video, we're going to show you how to use the possessive s. We use apostrophe s when we say that somebody has something. For example, if Mary has a blue car, we say, Mary's car is blue. But be careful, because we only put the apostrophe when the person ends in s. For example, in my cousins, we don't say my cousins' bikes. We say my cousin's bikes without the s. We use apostrophe s only for people. When a thing has something, we use of. For example, the capital of France is Paris. We don't say France's capital is Paris. Ear, E-A-R. Face, F-A-C-E. Present simple. Hello, in this video we're going to show you how to create and use the present simple tense, the most common verb tense in English. You have to remember that in each verb tense we must know three things. Number one, when we use this verb tense. We use present simple to say repeated actions, like habits or routines. For example, I wake up at 8 a.m. every day. We can use present simple to say general truths and permanent situations. For example, the sky is blue. I am a boy. I don't speak German. Number two, how we create a sentence in present simple. There are three groups. One, if we want to use the verb to be, then we say, I am, you are, he is, she is, it is, you are, they are, we are. And in negatives, I am not, you are not, he is not, she is not, it is not, you are not, they are not, we are not. And in questions, am I? Are you? Is he? Is she? Is it? Are you? Are they? Are we? Remember that when we use the verb to be, we always use the verb to be to do the negative sentences. In questions, we just put the verb to be at the beginning of the sentence. 2. If we want to use the verb have got, then we say, I have got, you have got, he has got, she has got, it has got, you have got, they have got, we have got. For negatives, I haven't got, you haven't got, he hasn't got, she hasn't got, you haven't got, they haven't got, we haven't got. And for questions, have I got? Have you got? Has he got? Has she got? Has it got? Have you got? Have they got? Have we got? In the third group, there are all the verbs that are not the verb to be or have got. Please remember these three different groups because it is very important when you do the negatives or interrogative sentences. Let's see how we create the sentences in present simple with verbs that are not the verb to be or the verb have got. Let's start with the positive sentences. Let's use the verb play. We say, I play, you play, but in he, she, it, we say plays. So the subjects he, she, it make the verb end in s. Plural subjects, we, you, and they play. As you see, the different ones are he, she, it, where the verb ends in s. Let's see the negative sentences. To create a negative sentence, we need a word called the auxiliary. Look at the examples. I don't play. We add don't before the verb. You don't play. But in he, she, it, we say, he doesn't play without the s. She doesn't play without the s. And it doesn't play without the s. We don't play, you don't play, they don't play. As you see again that the different ones are he, she, it, where we put doesn't before the verb and leave the verb without the s. Now take a look at the questions. To create a question, we need an auxiliary again. We say, do I play? Do you play? But in he, she, it, we say, does he play? Without the s. Do we play? Do you play? Do they play? Again, the different ones are he, she, it, where we put does instead of do. Watch the WASV lessons for more information on how to create questions. And 3. Which are the typical words from this verb tense? As we use the present simple to tell actions that are repeated, the typical words of the present simple are the words that tell us an action is repeated, like always, sometimes, usually, normally, often, not often, hardly ever, never. All these words are called adverbs of frequency because they tell us how frequently an action is repeated. Please watch the adverbs of frequency video. Other words that tell us a frequency are every day, on Mondays or any other day, on the weekends, or any word of time ending in s means that the action is repeated at that time. How to create a question. The WASV formula. This is a very important lesson. We created the WASV formula so you can use it when you need to ask a question. Always use this formula to remember how to create a question because you can use it in all verbal tenses. Let's see the formula. WASV question mark. Where W are the interrogative pronouns like what, when, where, how, why, who, how much, how many, etc. It is in brackets because it can be or not in the questions. When we ask something in a yes or no type of answer, we don't use any interrogative pronoun. We call the A in the formula the auxiliary, and it is the word we use when we do a negative sentence, but without the not part. For example, in present simple, a positive sentence is, you speak English. And when we change the positive sentence into a negative sentence, we say, you don't speak English. So in this case, the auxiliary, or A, is do. That is the word we use to change a positive sentence into a negative sentence. As you can see, to find the A for our WASV formula, we first make the negative and then take out the part of the word before the not part, or N''T. Another example, she plays tennis. Then the negative, she doesn't play tennis. So for the WASV formula, just use does as it is, the part next to the N''T. Please remember how to find the A because it is a trick you can use for all verb tenses. S is the subject, V is the verb. So if you have to create a question, use the WASV formula and you won't forget any element and you will put each element in the correct place. Let's see some examples with the WASV formula. Where do you live? What are you reading? Some examples without the W, interrogative pronoun, when we ask something in a yes or no type of answer. In these questions, the answer is yes or no. For example, do you like the Beatles? Does she speak English? Be careful. Exceptions in which you don't use this formula. 1. When you use the verb there is or there are. 2. For the imperative tense. 3. When you are asking for the subject. For example, who is your brother? 4. When you use the verb to be. For example, when is your birthday? Because there are no more verbs.
Where do you live?
I live in Pasadena.
Where is Pasadena?
It's in California.
Is it in Northern California?
No, it's in Southern California.
Is Pasadena a big city?
It's pretty big.
How big is pretty big?
It has about 140,000 people.
How big is Los Angeles?
It has about 3 million people. Do you have a car?
Yes, I do.
What kind of car do you have?
I have a Honda.
Is it new?
It was new in 2003.
So it's pretty old now.
Yes, it is, but it still looks good.
Do you take good care of it?
Oh, yes. I wash it once a week.
Do you change the oil?
My mechanic changes the oil twice a year.
Adverbs of frequency. The adverbs of frequency are these words that tell us how frequently an action happens. They tell us if the action happens always, or sometimes, or never, etc. We must know two things: the order and the place in the sentence. Let's start with the order, starting with the most frequent to the least frequent. Always. Normally, usually, frequently. Often. Sometimes. Not often. Rarely. Hardly ever. Never. Let's see where we put them in a sentence. The adverbs of frequency go before the verb. Look at the examples. I never play tennis. She often reads books. But there is one exception. In the verb to be, the adverb goes after the verb to be. For example, you are always happy. They are normally at school. In negative sentences, the place is the same. I don't normally play tennis. She doesn't often read books. Or in the verb to be, you aren't normally happy. They aren't usually at school. There are other words to indicate frequency, but they go at the end of the sentence. Some examples are every day, every week, 2 times a day, 3 times a month, once, or twice. Remember, they tell us a frequency, but they go at the end of the sentence and not before or after the verb. Let's see some examples. I go to the gym 3 times a week. She is at school every day. Bank. B-A-N-K. Farm. F-A-R-M. Library. L-I-B-R-A-R-Y. Hospital. H-O-S-P-I-T-A-L. Bread. B-R-E-A-D. Breakfast. B-R-E-A-K-F-A-S-T. Dinner. D-I-N-N-E-R. Egg. E-G-G. Potato. P-O-T-A-T-O. Rice. R-I-C-E. Tomato. T-O-M-A-T-O. Water. W-A-T-E-R. Lunch. L-U-N-C-H. Orange. O-R-A-N-G-E. Street. S-T-R-E-E-T.
He often plays in the playground. They don't usually write letters. My cousin normally jumps on the grass. I sleep once a day. She doesn't eat pizza every day. I rarely talk to my cousin. Do you normally drink lemonade? I hardly ever sing. You are normally in the library. She often sleeps on the sofa.
There is, there are. First, check in the vocabulary the meaning of there is or there are. We use there is when there is only one thing. For example, there is one person on the street. There is one tree in the garden. We use there are when there is more than one thing. For example, there are 2 cars on the road. There are 10 tables in the classroom. When we want to say something that is uncountable, like water, gasoline, sand, pollution, money, salt, sugar, fire, music, art, electricity, oil, furniture, milk, everything, something, nothing, anything, everybody, somebody, anybody, nobody, we use there is. For example, there is water on the table. There is money in my wallet. There is something on my bed. Let's see how we do the negatives. As there is or there are has a verb to be, we just put the verb to be negative. Look at the examples. There isn't a cat in the house. There aren't windows in my bedroom. Now let's see the questions. As we have a verb to be, we do a question like we do in the present simple. We just put the verb to be at the beginning of the sentence. For example, is there a ball in the garden? Are there good restaurants in your town? Some, any. We use some and any when we want to say that there are more than one, but not a lot. As we use some or any when there is more than one thing, we put the thing in plural when it is a countable noun. We use some in positive sentences. There are some shops in the street. There is some milk in the fridge. Look that we say shops in plural because there is more than one. We use any in negative sentences and in questions. There aren't any elephants in the zoo. There isn't any cheese in my sandwich. Look that we say elephants in plural. In questions, are there any museums in the city? Is there any water in the bottle? Again, look that when the thing is countable, we put it in plural, ending with an S. How much, how many? We use how much, how many when we ask for the amount of something. Then we only use them for questions. So we use our WASV formula and put how much, how many in the W column. We use how many when we ask for something that you can count. For example, how many CDs have you got? How many bedrooms are there in your house? Look that we use there are because it is a countable noun. We use how much when we ask for something that you can't count, like water. For example, how much water is there in the fridge? How much money is there in my bank? Look that now we use there is because it is an uncountable noun. Much, many, a lot of. We use much, many, or a lot of to say that there are a big amount of things. We use a lot of for all the positive sentences. For example, there are a lot of people in the restaurant. Or, there is a lot of food on the table. Look that we use are for countable nouns and is for uncountable nouns. We use much or many for the negative sentences or in questions. The difference is that we use much for incountable nouns like water, gasoline, sand, pollution, money, salt, sugar, fire, music, art, electricity, oil, furniture, milk, and we use many for countable nouns. We say, there isn't much pollution in my town, or there aren't any flowers in the garden. In questions, is there much sugar in my coffee? Or, are there many parks in your city?
Do you have a girlfriend?
No, I don't. Do you?
I don't have a girlfriend either.
Why not?
I don't know. Maybe I'm not rich enough.
Girls like guys with money.
They sure do.
They like guys with new cars.
I don't have money or a new car,
Me neither.
but girls like guys who are funny.
Yeah, maybe we should learn some good jokes.
Present continuous and going to. Hello. In this video, we're going to show you how to use the present continuous tense and the most common expression for the future in present continuous, that is be plus going to. Remember that in each verb tense, we must know three things. 1. When we use this verb tense, we use present continuous in three different situations. 1. When the action is happening now. 2. When we want to describe something. And 3. When we were talking about the planned and near future. 2. How we create a sentence in present continuous. All continuous tenses follow the same structure. Be plus verb ending plus ing. The present continuous, the verb to be goes in present. For example, The boy is playing football. They are eating a cake. We are drinking water. As we have a verb to be, to create the negative sentences or questions, we use the verb to be. The same sentences in negative are: the boy isn't playing football. They aren't eating a cake. We aren't drinking water. And the questions, we just move the verb to be and put it at the beginning of the question. Is the boy playing football? Are they eating a cake? Are we drinking water? Remember to use the WASV formula when you are creating a question. In this example, there isn't a W. The A is where you do the negative, in this case the verb to be. The S is the subject, that is the boy, and the V is the verb, that is playing. There's another important thing to remember. When a verb has only one syllable and ends in consonant plus vowel plus consonant, we double the last consonant. For example, run, running. Stop, stopping. Number 3, which are the typical words from this verb tense? If we use the present continuous to talk about something that is happening now, the typical words in this tense are the words that tell us that something is happening now, like now, at the moment, or look, listen. If we use the present continuous to talk about the near and planned future, then the typical words are tomorrow, today, tonight, this weekend. Another important thing to remember are the state verbs. There are some verbs that don't make sense in a continuous tense. For example, the verb to want. We don't say, I am wanting an ice cream right now. We say, I want an ice cream right now. So the action can happen now, but we don't use this verb in a continuous form. Here are a list of verbs that are not normally used in the continuous form. Verbs of the senses: hear, see, smell. Verbs of the feelings: like, love, hate, need, want, wish, care, mind, fear. Verbs of prices or measure: cost, measure, weigh, contain. Verbs of possession: have got, own, belong, possess, exist. Verbs of opinion: believe, doubt, feel, forget, guess, hope, imagine, know, mean, prefer, realize, recognize, remember, seem, suppose, think, understand. Now let's see the going to structure. We use going to talk about the near and planned future. So, the same as the present continuous. There are two ways to say an action to do in the near and planned future. The structure is to be plus going to plus verb. Let's look at examples. John is going to come home for Christmas. You are going to do homework tonight. As we have a verb to be, the negative sentences and questions are created with the verb to be. The negatives are, John isn't going to come home for Christmas. You aren't going to do homework tonight. And the questions are, is John going to come home for Christmas? Are you going to do homework tonight? Check that we are using our WASV formula, where R is the auxiliary, you is the subject, and going to is the verb. Present simple versus present continuous. I'm going to tell you the differences between the present simple and the present continuous, and know when to use one or the other. When you are in an exercise where you have to choose one tense, you have to use these three methods. 1. Know the theory. 2. Know the typical words. And 3. Translate the sentence into your native language. In the present simple versus present continuous case, 1. The theory is that we use present simple for repeated actions like habits or routines, to say general truths and permanent situations. We use the present continuous to describe an action that is happening now, or when we are talking about the planned and near future. 2. The typical words. For the present simple, the adverbs of frequency like normally, usually, often, sometimes, rarely, hardly ever, never, or every day. And for the present continuous, now, at the moment, look, listen, or tonight, today, tomorrow, or next week. Remember the state verbs, so when you find a state verb, it doesn't normally go in present continuous. It probably goes in present simple. Some state verbs are hear, see, like, love, hate, need, want, cost, have got, believe, forget, know, mean, prefer, or understand. 3. Always translate the sentence into your native language to check if you are doing the exercise well.
Where are you going?
I have to walk the dog.
What kind of dog do you have?
I have a little poodle.
Poodles bark a lot.
They sure do.
They bark at everything.
They never shut up.
Why did you get a poodle?
It's my mom's dog.
So she likes poodles?
She says they're good watchdogs.
Are you eating your breakfast? My uncle is writing an email tomorrow at 5 p.m. It is 11:15. Alice is singing in the bathroom. It is 5 o'clock in the afternoon. The dog is eating its food. It is 6 o'clock. Are you learning English? Is your grandfather sitting on the sofa? Mike isn't riding his bike. Can. In this video, I'm going to explain to you your first modal verb, can. Can describes an ability that someone has or a permission. Let's see some examples of can expressing ability. Sue can play volleyball very well. My car can run very fast. Now let's see some examples of can expressing permission. I don't go to school today. I can go to the park. Or in negative, I have school today. I can't go to the park. Can is a modal verb, so as all modal verbs, we do the negative sentences in the modal verb. Let's see some negative sentences. Jim can't speak German. My mom can't help me now because she is working. As we do the negative in the modal, then this means there is an auxiliary in our WASV formula. Let's see some questions. Can you help me with this exercise? Can you open the door, please? Look that we are using the WASV formula again, where can is the auxiliary, S is the subject, and V is the verb.
Hobby. HOBBY. Hockey. HOCKEY. Tennis. TENNIS. Music. MUSIC. Football. FOOTBALL. Bike. BIKE. Plane. PLANE. Train. TRAIN. Sport. SPORT. Holiday. HOLIDAY. Book. BOOK. Fishing. FISHING. Doll. DOLL. Boat. BOAT. Piano. PIANO.
My family lives on a farm. We have a lot of animals. We have cows, pigs, and ducks. I like playing with the small ducks and feeding them. We have a big tractor. My brother loves driving the tractor. He loves driving it around the fields. My mom works inside the house. She loves cooking. She is the best cook.
Comparatives and superlatives. In this video, I'm going to show you what a comparative and superlative is, when to use them, and how to create them in English. Let's start with the comparatives. We use the comparatives to compare one thing to another thing. Let's use the adjective fast to create an example. My car is faster than your car. To create a comparative sentences, we have to check first if the adjective is short or long. We consider short when it has one or two syllables, like in fast, short, thin, big, cheap, easy, funny, or old. For short adjectives, we create a comparative sentence by adding ER at the end of the adjective and then. Look at the example. My dad is older than my mom. My sister is thinner than me. There are two spelling rules here that you have to remember. When an adjective has only one syllable and ends in consonant plus vowel plus consonant, we double the last consonant. For example, thin, thinner than. Big, bigger than. 2. When the adjective ends in Y, then change Y for IER, like in easy. The comparative is easier than. Or funny, funnier than. Let's see how we create a comparative sentence when the adjective is long. We say an adjective is long when it has more than two syllables, like intelligent, expensive, interesting, or careful. Then we create a comparative sentence by adding more before the adjective and then after the adjective. Look at the examples. This house is more expensive than my house. Tim is more intelligent than Susan. If you want to say the opposite, then use less. For example, this house is less expensive than my house. Tim is less intelligent than Susan. If you want to say that both things are equal, then use as plus adjective plus as. Look at the examples. This house is as expensive as my house. This exam is as easy as the previous exam. Now let's see the superlatives. To create a superlative sentence, we have to check first if the adjective is short or long. We consider short when it has one or two syllables, like big or fast, and we consider it long when it has more than two syllables, like intelligent, expensive. For short adjectives, we create a superlative sentence by adding est at the end of the adjective and the before the adjective. Look at the example. My dad is the oldest person in my family. Tokyo is the biggest city in the world. Again, remember that there are two spelling rules. 1. When an adjective has only one syllable and ends in consonant plus vowel plus consonant, we double the last consonant. For example, thin. We add the thinnest. Or big, the biggest. 2. When the adjective ends in Y, change Y for IEST. Like in easy, the superlative is the easiest. Or funny, the funniest. To create a superlative sentence, we add the most before the adjective. Look at the examples. The house is the most expensive house on the street. Brian is the most intelligent kid in my class. If you want to say the opposite, then use least. For example, this house is the least expensive house on the street. Now there is something you have to remember. There are some exceptions. When the adjective is good, the comparative is better than, and the superlative is the best. When the adjective is bad, the comparative is worse than, and the superlative is the worst. When the adjective is far, the comparative is further than, and the superlative is the furthest. Look at the examples. I am better than my brother at basketball. Manchester United is the best team in the world.
Robin plays the guitar. He takes lessons after school on Tuesdays. Robin's guitar teacher is Mr. Thomas. Mr. Thomas tells Robin to practice every day. On most days, Robin practices his guitar. On the days Robin does not practice his guitar, he plays basketball with his friends or helps his mom in the garden.
A hippo is fatter than a cat. My sister is the best. I am hungrier than this morning. Barcelona plays better than Hamburg. The Nile River is longer than the Seine. Which is the best restaurant in the city? Today I am happier than yesterday. Chinese is more difficult than English. I am worse than yesterday.
Two verbs together. Verb plus ing or to. In this video, I'm going to teach you what to do when you want to say two verbs together in English. Sometimes in a sentence, we want to say two verbs together. Like, I want to go home. I like eating ice cream.
In English, the second verb always has to go in the ing form, gerund, or in the to form, infinitive. How do I know which form it has to use? The first verb tells you if the second verb has to go in gerund or infinitive. After these verbs, the following verb has to go in gerund or ing form. Like, hate, enjoy, love, mind, in positive or negative. For example, she hates reading books. I love swimming in the lake. As you can see, the following verb goes in ing form. After these verbs, the following verb has to go in infinitive or to form. Want or need. For example, I want to start the exam. He needs to go to the doctor. As you can see, the following verb goes in infinitive form. Check the list of verbs to see which verbs are followed by gerund or infinitive form. Emily works far away from her home. She drives a car to work. It takes her 2 hours to get there. While she drives, she thinks about many things. She thinks about her little girl. She thinks about her little boy. She thinks about her husband. Emily thinks of things she has to do when she gets home.